Okay, on this one we're going to be identifying independent and dependent variables. We're going to be trying to figure out what is an independent variable, what is a dependent. To go through here, let's just remind ourselves that the independent variable is the thing that happens first. Now what I do with my students, I have them write a chart right here, and I kind of use the idea of cause and effect. Okay, whenever we talk about cause and effect, the cause is the thing that happens first. Effect is the result or the thing that happens second. I may write result here. Okay, so the independent variable is going to be the thing that occurs first. The dependent is going to be the effect. What happens? After something happens or is started and you do things to it, what is the result? In a ordered pair, when you go to graph, you have an X and a Y. Well, if you think about it, what do you do first? Well, you go over on the X-axis and then up on the Y. So this is what you do first, then you do this second. Well, the X is normally the independent, Y is normally the dependent. Another thing that you can look at is that whenever you talk about time, time is going to tend to always be the the independent variable. Okay, so let's go up here and look. Oh, I went too far. Let's go back a sec. Here we go. It says the total amount of the amount of food ordered at a restaurant and the total amount of your bill. What is the independent variable? What's the thing that happens first? Well, first when you go to a restaurant, you don't get the bill. You order your food. So here I'm going to have my food ordered. Well, the dependent, the result is your total bill. Normally I tell my students when we go through here, whenever they say total something, when you're talking about the total of something, you're going to end up being the dependent variable. Okay, so now we've got to fill this in. It says something depends on something. It is always going to be Y depends on X. Dependent depends on the independent. So I'm going to have the total bill depends on the amount of food ordered. Okay, so let me see if I can scroll down here. Let's look at number 2. Right here they're saying this is supposed to be where the independent goes and this is where the dependent's going to go. So the number of magazines sold and the profit made selling them. Well, what has to happen? Are you going to make profit first? No, you've got to sell them. So you're going to say the independent is the thing that happens first, so that's the number sold. The dependent is going to be the profit. Okay, well here, blank is determined by blank. The profit is determined by the number, let's see if I can write here, the number sold. Number 3, a student's attendance and their grade. Well, what happens first? Well, first you got to come to class. So the attendance is the independent. Trying to write with this thing is a challenge. And the end result is their grade. So blank depends on blank. Their grade depends on their attendance. Number 4 was messing some people up when we were trying to do this. The area of the square and the length of the side. Okay, well the thing that's going to happen first is we're going to have the length is going to be the independent. Well, see, depending on the length, then that affects the area, because the longer it is, the bigger the area. So blank is a result of blank. The area is a result of the length. Okay, this last one right here on this page, it says the weight of a book and the number of pages. Okay, when you go to, people who make books, they don't go, ooh, I want a book to weigh 50 pounds. So let's put this many pages in it. What happens first? They write the pages. So the pages is the independent variable. The weight is the result. It's what happens afterwards. Blank is a function of. Well, the weight is a function of the number of pages. There's a few terms we need to remember here. We're going to say, okay, y. Oh, I'm not going to use y. Let me go back. I'm going to change this. We're going to have blank. We're going to start with this. Blank depends on blank. Okay. The dependent variable depends on the independent. So then we have is a function of that means the same thing. You're going to put the dependent variable here. It is a function of the independent. Another one you have is determined by. The dependent is determined by the independent. Another one that could fit in here is a result of. So I've got the dependent is a result of the independent. Okay, all those phrases mean the same thing. There's going to be one that's going to be different, and that one is going to be determines. In that case, blank determines blank. Well, the independent variable is going to determine the dependent. This is the one that will be different, so you need to be careful. You can't always say that you put the dependent first. Next, let's see, we already wrote that down. Okay, we're supposed to match the graph that goes with these sentences. Now, let's go here and talk about these notes real quick. Here's my graph. I've got X, then Y. You're going to put your independent on the X and your dependent on the Y. So make sure you have that written down. Let's go back here and let's look at this. First off, my height is a function of my age. Well, what happens first? What happens first is your age. Remember, age is kind of like time. That's going to be your independent variable. Your height is going to be your dependent. So if I look at this, kind of draw my graph, I need to find one that has age on the x-axis and height on the y. Well, let's see, age and height. This one has age and height, but height's down here at the bottom. It can't be E. So this one, the answer must be letter A. Let's see if I can write it up here. Yep, letter A. The next one, the height of the football depends on how many seconds have gone by since we kicked it. How many seconds? There's that time. That's going to be the independent. That's going to go down on the x-axis, and the height is the dependent. So I'm looking for something that has time on the x-axis. Well, here it is, the time and the height. See, because at first you kick it, it goes up, and it comes back down. So this answer would be letter F. The next one says the amount of money made at a football game is determined by the number of tickets sold. Well, what happens first? You don't make money on a football game. You have to sell the tickets. This is my independent variable. It means it's going to go on the bottom. So here it is right here. Your answer should be C. The next, oh, yep, there's our notes. Let's go on by. Okay, they want us to underline the independent and circle the dependent. Now, I would always do this in the instructions so that you make sure you get it correct. The length of time you have been driving determines how much gas is in your car. Here's your time right now. The amount of time is your independent. The gas remaining, that is your dependent. Number 10, the number of cavities you have depends on how well you take care of your teeth. Okay, seriously, you don't just have cavities in your mouth. Right here, you have to take care of your teeth first. And then, if you don't brush your teeth very well, or if you don't brush your teeth, you're going to have cavities. So the first thing you have to do is brush your teeth. Number 11, what type of clothes you have in your closet relies on whether you're a boy or a girl. I mean, think about it. When a person's going to have a baby, do they just go out and buy random clothes? No, they find out if they're having a boy or a girl first, and then that tells them what type of clothes they can buy. Number 12, the amount of sunlight determines how green a plant is. The sunlight happens first, then that makes the plant green. Okay, we need to talk about the fact of quantity and variable. When it asks you for a quantity, they want you to write your variable in words. When it asks you just for the variable, the independent variable, they want you to write the letter. Okay, so when they say independent quantity, they want to know what that is in words. Variable is in letter. So let's go back up here. On average, Kyla drives 25 miles an hour. Here's the function. M equals 25H. M is the number of miles, and H is the number of hours. Okay, well, there's the time. I also said that time was going to be independent. It wants to know the independent quantity, so you should put hours. The dependent quantity, the result is the miles, and you need to write it in words. Another way you can look at this is that Y equals 25X. X and H are in the same spot, so X and H are the independent. That's why that goes there. Y and M are the dependent. That's why it goes there. Next, normally Jacob writes 5 pages in 1 hour. You got the function P equals 5H, and that means P is the number of pages and H is the number of hours. Okay. Y equals 5X. X and H are in the same spot. Well, H is also the number of hours. Independent quantity, write it in words. You should have hours. Dependent quantity, the result is how many pages he gets done. On average, Christian runs about 6 miles in 1 hour. So here it is. M equals 6H. Represents the number of miles Christian can run after 6 hours. They want to know the independent variable. Variable, first off, independent, is it the hours or the miles? Hours will be the independent, but it wants the variable, so just write the H. Dependent variable is M, and you just write the M. This next one says a crane operator charges $450 rental fee for his crane and an additional $18 per hour to operate the crane. What is the total cost? Now, I said total cost will end up being your dependent of the crane operator for 6 hours. There's your time. The independent quantity, independent is the hours. Quantity means to write it in words. Independent variable, the variable is the H. Just saying what variable do we use for hours? Next we have dependent quantity. Dependent right here is total cost. So quantity, we're going to write total cost. The variable we use is C.